In the following video, I'm going to ride my bike from my apartment in South Austin to the Central Public Library downtown. I am not using any routes that Google Maps gives me. Instead, I'm using my own knowledge from riding in the area for 3 or 4 years. So enjoy! I'm starting at the Broken Spoke parking lot on South Lamar. South Lamar has a painted bike lane, but with traffic that often goes over the speed limit of 35, I don't feel safe riding on it, so I ride on the sidewalk. -1. I just encountered a person with a seeing eye dog. I'm gonna give another -1 because there's so many driveways on South Lamar, and as someone who can see well, even me, I don't feel safe with the cars that are coming out in and out of this parking lot. So I really worry for them. Now I'm coming up to Barton Skyway. I'm going to give a +1 here because they did put in a new semi-protected bike lane. I say semi-protected because they're flexible posts here. But this is a lot nicer than what it used to be. -1, Manchac is another Strode. It's just too big. I hate it. +1, there's a lot of traffic. Call me over here. I'm cutting through an apartment complex. This is a route that I only know because one time I put in pedestrian directions in Google Map for a destination and it brought me through here. It will not direct me through this way if I put bicycle directions. +1 for bollards. +1 for this park. It's really nice. A lot of the trees are overgrown, so I had to duck my head, but I think that's fine. Yeah, here I'm running into them. +1 for shade. You can see that when you have a 2-lane road, there's way more opportunities for shade. This is where I need to look up directions because I'm not quite sure how to get to where I'm going. I feel pretty safe biking around in this neighborhood, so I'm going to give a +1. There's not a lot of traffic and it's generally pretty quiet. People don't drive too fast. +1 for this road because it's really smooth and it's downhill, so it was really fun to ride on. This is where I come to Old Torf. Old Torf is one of the few east to west corridors through South Austin. And it has no bike lane, and you're going to get to see the sidewalk. And already I'm going to give a -1 because there's no safe bicycling infrastructure. -1 for the railroad. Why can't we have a better crossing than that? -1 for this mud. Ew. -1 because even as a pedestrian, these sidewalks are not great. They're pretty uneven, they're windy. You're still pretty close to the road. It's really noisy. It is nice that they've saved a lot of the trees over here. I think that's why some of the sidewalks are windy. But in general, it's not pleasant to be a pedestrian or a bicyclist on Old Torf. -1 for that dirt on the sidewalk. -1 for this crosswalk because the beg button is so far away. Although I like the little islands, that helps a little bit. -1 for slip lanes. Come on now. Now I'm getting on to what I have been told is the South Austin Bike Highway. This is South 5th Street. The reason it's called the Bike Highway is because it is one of the safer north to south biking routes in South Austin. There's only 2 lanes, and there's not a lot of through traffic, so most of the traffic here is going to be neighborhood traffic, and it's not going to be super fast. They're not in a hurry. Well, not always, but in general, the traffic is pretty respectful. +1 for a 25 miles per hour speed limit. There's a lot of road cyclists, so people that cycle to exercise. I don't consider myself a cycler for exercise. I do it for transportation. But, I mean, I respect them. That's a neighborhood library over to the left. Coming up here is another reason why this is a good biking route. There are several speed humps on this road, so it discourages speeding down fast. So +1 for those. Now I am approaching Barton Springs Road, and I do not like this intersection. I'm going to give it a -1 already. This is a place where there are a lot of pedestrians. And for some reason, even though there's the bike lane there, people do like to speed on this road. I really don't understand it. -1 to how long the beg button takes. From here, I am cutting through this little park. -1 for scooter in the way. Scooters everywhere. +1 for this park, though. It's really beautiful, and it's one of the few parks in the city that was, I think it was really built for children. There's a lot of things for them to play with, and there's always a lot of kids here. +1 for public restrooms and water fountains. +1 for the shade. This is another pedestrian-heavy area, so I kind of wish there were more separated bike paths, or at least wider sidewalks, but maybe that's just me. Maybe it's actually fine. -1 for this because there was a beg button, but there was no electronic sign on the other side, so how was I supposed to know if it was safe to cross or not? It was very confusing. Now I'm getting close to the hike and bike trail near Lady Bird Lake, and the hike and bike trail during peak times should just be a hike trail. I don't think there's enough room for both hikers and bikers, to be honest. -1 to this weird sidewalk here. +1 for all the rental bikes. I've never used the city bikes, but I think it's a good option for people who are visiting. +1,000 points for the Pfluger Bridge. I love the Pfluger Bridge so much. So this is a pedestrian-only bridge, And it just shows that you can induce demand for pedestrian infrastructure. Because people love this bridge, they love to hang out on this bridge. There are always a lot of people here running, walking, playing music, just hanging out. And we need more spaces like this. So where the path splits, I'm going down the ramp. If you go to the right, you can take the swirl that ramps all the way down to the bottom of the trail. But I'm going to exit at Seaholm. +1 to this because I think it adds a little bit of character with the wooden sides. +1 for the bollards. -1 for this. This area always confuses me. So I think this side of the road is 2 lanes, but then the right side of the road on the other side is 1 way, coming the opposite direction. So I find that very confusing. Also, I think that this would be a much nicer area without all of this street parking. So -1 because of street parking. There's a lot of conflict with pedestrians here. Now I can see the library up ahead. +1 for all those buttons. There's a lot of traffic calming devices over here. Although you can see that one fell down. And I made it. There's Travis.
We made it.
Starting off, I like this street. It's unmarked, but it seems like a neighborhood street. It seems relaxing. +1. I'm not a fan of those bike route signs. I don't know about anyone else, but I feel like they don't necessarily show safe routes. Is that just me? +1 for a sidewalk. +45th Street. +1 for no right turn on red. I love that. Alright, so we've got a painted bike lane. It's kind of a gutter lane, but because there's only 2 car lanes, it seems like it might be pretty comfortable to ride on for the most part. Cars don't seem to be going too fast, so I'll give a +1 to this. And there's another biker on the other side, so that's a good sign. I especially like when there's double white lines like this. +1 to that little median. I think that really helps calm some traffic and makes it easier for pedestrians to cross too, since they have something in the middle. Now this is feeling more like a Strode. So now there's a middle turning lane. It feels a lot wider. So I don't know if I would feel super safe riding here. I'm going to give a -1 actually. Oh, we're at the Hancock Center. Okay. Back on the neighborhood street, +1 for all the shade. When the streets are narrow, you can just have more trees. It's a lot better. This looks like a fun hill. Going down. Duval Street. +1 for this. It's an unprotected painted bike lane, but there's only 2 car lanes, and I saw a sign for speed bumps. Here they are. So I think that really helps with the traffic calming and gets cars to slow down. So I think that makes these painted bike lanes a little safer. It's not perfect, like maybe you wouldn't want to send a child in this, but I like it. -1. I know these construction workers are doing their best, but imagine if we just closed a car lane like that and forced cars to go somewhere else. It's just really inconsiderate, I think. -1 for a bus stop without shade. +1 for a no parking in the bike lane sign. I appreciate those. That helps us report cars that are parked there, because I believe if you take a picture of a car parked in a bike lane, you have to have that sign showing in the picture to prove that they shouldn't be there. +1 for the shade. Look at this. And overall, it's nice that this area seems like more of a grid. So that means you can cut through some streets that don't have very much traffic on it. -1 for not having sidewalks, but +1 for people apparently feeling safe enough to walk in the middle of this street. Oh my gosh, are you going down Guad? I can't believe this. Now that I've moved to this neighborhood and I understand what you did, oh my god. Okay. Guad. This is a painted bike lane. The paint is obviously old on a, is this 4 or 5 lane car road? This is a -100. I'm sorry, I would not feel safe biking on this. I know that some people feel safe biking on this side, which is the southbound side, because on the right-hand side, there's not a lot of driveways. There's not a lot of cars coming in and out. Personally, I just don't trust 2 lanes of cars on my left coming down with this wide road, feeling like they can go super fast. I do not feel safe biking in this. I'm very in awe of you right now, Travis. -1 because of this slip lane. This is where a lot of conflict could happen with cars, and I imagine does happen between cars and bikers. -1 because I know this little island does not have a ramp on it, and I've logged a 311 request for it. -1 because this bike lane is getting worse. This is like riding in the gutter. Look at that asphalt. You cannot ride in the entire thing. You have to pay very close attention to what is safe to put your bike on and what is not. Look at that. I don't want to go into that drainage tunnel. The paint is almost worn down on those bike symbols. -1 because people from out of town and people from small towns especially do not see bike infrastructure normally. They are not used to it. So I think bike infrastructure does need to be very obvious. We cannot assume that people are used to driving here. -1 for that. Oh my gosh. This is really awful. This is embarrassing. I'm guessing that where you are, you can't reach the beg button to cross. And also, I don't think the road senses if a bicycle is there. So, -1 just because of that. -1, look at this gutter. That is disgusting. There is grass growing in that gutter in the bike lane. Oh my gosh, what is that? This says everything about the city, I think. This is the perfect example. This is the epitome of infrastructure in Austin. A 5-lane road, painted bike lane, road that is not maintained, full of potholes and various uneven pavement. I'll give a +1 to these trees right here. They look kind of new and young, and I hope that someday They're able to provide a lot of shade. -1 because why was that dotted line instead of a solid line? Like, I don't know what that was doing. Did it mean the right turn could overtake the bike lane? Doesn't seem safe to me. Now we're almost at the University of Texas campus, and I know that a lot of students here do not own a car, so let's see what kind of infrastructure we provide these students. Oh, never mind, you're going around. Okay. I'll give +1 because at least this has double painted lines, so that gives a little bit more space to the cyclists, and there are fewer car lanes than that Strode of Guad. Oh, now you're going down Rio Grande. +1. Wow. We have something designating that this should be a bike lane more than paint. We have some flexible posts. Oh my gosh, look at this. I didn't know this existed. Oh my gosh. Okay, +100. Protected, thick concrete bike lane with the bollards. And it's only a one way for the cars. That is incredible. Wow. I'm taking this from now on. I didn't know about Rio Grande. This must be West Campus area then? I don't really know this area that well. Wow, look at all the shade. +1, +1, +1. There's the bike share over on the left-hand side. Oh, a lot of bike parking on the right side. Benches. This is very nice. Oh, -1. Scooter in the bike lane. Come on now. I like that they put the yellow posts there at the entrances to all of the protected sections because that shows cars like, hey, this isn't for you. Because otherwise a car could fit through here. That's a little confusing to me, the do not enter, because I guess that's just for cars, but bikes are supposed to follow car laws in Texas. So I'm going to say -1. Like, that should say cars do not enter. Oh, this one says accept bicycles. Did the last one say that? Okay, +1 for that sign. I could have messed up on my last one. -1 because they need to trim that tree. Oh gosh, are you going through this tunnel? Oh, +1. Okay, so they're doing construction, but they have a tunnel for the bikes and a tunnel for the pedestrians. I have almost never seen that. I applaud whoever is doing construction at that site. +1. I'm honestly so mad I'm watching this now because I could have taken this bike lane yesterday, but I didn't know it was so nice and it was here. So many bike racks. Also, I've seen a couple wheels on their own. That's kind of sad. Okay, is this where the bike lane ends? Curious which street this is. I already don't like it because it looks like a big Strode as well. You know the game Slug Bug, where if you see a yellow Volkswagen Bug, you say Slug Bug? We need some kind of game for when you see a Strode, just to show disgust. +1, there's a stoplight just for the bicycles. That's kind of cool. I have no idea where you are right now. Ooh, traffic circle, +1. So this also helps with traffic calming. So I can see why you would feel safe biking down this street. This street seems very wide and unmarked, and I'm not loving that. It doesn't have a lot of traffic though, interestingly. Oh, it is marked. just very confusingly. So -1 for that. Okay, we have a bike lane again. Another gutter of a bike lane. What is the point of this? -1. I'm very confused. Why would you have a bike lane for 100 feet and then just have unmarked road? I'm very confused by this. It is 8 in the morning on a Saturday when this video is taken, so I'd be very curious to see what this is like 8 a.m. on a Monday or 5:30 p.m. on a Monday. Some of this grass is way too green. We are in a drought, and I'm wondering how much water they're using. +1 for this roundabout. It's really pretty. And we have another roundabout. So since these roundabouts are here, I wonder if that deters traffic for the commuters. I don't think that car saw you, if I were to guess. Oh, pedestrian bridge. +1. This is nice. And +1 for bollards. Keeping cars off of it. You'd be surprised what cars will try to do. +1 for all of this shade. I'm just sure that the temperature is instantly a lot cooler under those trees. I do really like these ramps. However, I feel like if you really wanted this to be two-way traffic, it maybe could have been a little bit wider. I mean, there's some blind corners, so if people are coming the other way, you might not see them on some of those turns. So I'm not going to say plus or minus. It kind of cancels each other out. +1 for retractable bollards right here. And that's it. Since I filmed the original video, I moved from South Austin to North Austin, and it has been life-changing. I don't need to drive my car anymore. There are way more protected routes. There's more of a grid system, and that means that I have more options to me for route finding, and it's been unbelievable. So if you're a bicyclist and you want to be able to get around Austin without a car, I would highly recommend living in North Central Austin.